Hi everybody, it's Kimberly here, and I know it's been a really long time since I've posted, and yeah, a lot of things have happened since we last spoke together. So I've known that I would be getting back on this channel for some time, but I kept putting it off. And I just want to, first of all, thank every one of you who have followed me in the past, and just give you a quick update about me personally in the last year. I'm going to make it very short, but just to let you know, I'm still on the twin flame journey. That's something that will just never go away. When you wake up, when you've been red pilled, you can never unknow the truth. And of course, this journey has been an unbelievably life-changing one for every one of us who've been on it, as we've come to discover more and more of who we really are and why we're here. And I'll just have to say that the last year, which I think it's been about that long since I've posted, that the last year has just continued in a trajectory of exponential growth and, things that have unfolded and developed in my life personally. So what brings me to posting right now is that during the time that I've been away from my channel here, I think that I would say that the main thing that happened was working through a process of growth and development that came to me thanks to the universe by the pathway of the project and the mission that I was feeling like I was here to develop and do. And I got to a point with that where everything seemed like it was just not going to move forward. It was falling apart and there was no way forward. And the process of that brought forth some of the most intense growth, I would say, from that intense and difficult. Looking back on it, and you're thinking every step of the way, I never felt like I pushed too far forward. Like I was always walking in the path that I could when I could, and pressed forward with some other people that joined me in that. And I just want to, if there any of them are watching, just thank you again. I think we were all, looking back on that note, it was all for a purpose, but in the end it folded. And that really brought a lot of questions in my mind about really what path am I on, and some things really came to a culmination with my situation with my twin at the same time, where there was nothing else I could do but just surrender to the moment, which of course is what we've been doing along this path all along the way, learning to just surrender to the moment and what was what's right in front of us. There's nothing else that you can do. And a lot of self evaluation and need and necessity for forgiving yourself in both of those situations as they developed for me. As I walked through that, there was a time for about a month where I really just had to set the whole journey and experience and the twin flame thing and everything just kind of to the side, and focus on some things that were pressing in my physical life, because we're still here. And in the process of doing that, some things started opening up again for what seemed like my biggest hurdle with the mission, which was how we fund it. And I had a bunch of other things start falling into place. I, out of nowhere, started getting contacts, people, like the missing pieces to the puzzle. And then finally money, which had always been the big thing that was like, if we only had money, then we could move forward in a bigger way, in the way we need to with this. And suddenly when the money was there, I got this huge block. Like, you're not supposed to step into that. And, even now I kind of wonder, well, why were, some more steps of this process manifest after it all seemed to fall apart, even to the point of having, a completely open path for moving forward, and then having this very distinct feeling that I'm not supposed to step into it. Well, that also happened to time up with around the time of the eclipse. And it was really culminating before that, and I had the holding back through the time of the eclipse. And then after the time of the eclipse, I really don't know if I have the full answer, but it seemed to come clear to me in the concept that timelines really shifted and changed after the eclipse. And it was like, on a collective level, we fast forwarded in a big way. And if you look around you, you can see the evidence of that now. At the time, it felt like I felt it, but I didn't see it yet. And now we're starting to see, just beginning to see the results of this acceleration. And I do believe that, I can't judge or second guess anything of what I was led to do, and, the entire pathway and the growth that came from it, even if I don't have like a packaged up, here I completed my mission, or I finally launched it and it's happening. And, there's a huge amount of things to work through in that, from the, the ego perspective, or the, the self-judgment. Like, in and of myself, I was able to do it. It was hard, but I was able to do it. But it was more about like, what do other people think? I've spent the last 2 years of my life on this, incredible transformational journey that no one else could possibly understand or grasp, except, for those of you who've gone through it yourselves. And so when I'm talking about, your family, your, the people that live, like life is still going on normally around you, and then they don't understand what you're going through and why you've made the choices you have, and just having to let that go and not allow what I perceive other people's judgments might be to judge what I've gone through. So during the summer, I did have, some things unfold on the financial scene that was, kind of more of a temporary thing, but it brought in, for the first time in a couple of years, brought in a decent amount of money. And having lived frugally for a long time anyway, I was able to put money in savings and, finally have the security of the financial situation, at least for about another 6 months, that felt good. But I was also determined, like, I am never going to let myself be in this situation of never having enough money, the stress of it, and everything that I went through as I was dedicating all of my efforts toward launching a mission, trying to make this thing happen. And I was just finally like, I don't know what else to do other than just a job. I need a job, but if I'm going to have a job, I think what I would really like to do is get back into nonprofit leadership. I've done that before, but I also have had a taste of the freedom of working from home, and really also enjoy traveling. And so I thought, what I really want is a director of a nonprofit organization position that is, working from home. I have a lot of experience in working with remote teams, and, this would be something that I could fit in. I know I can't just go to a job, any old job that I wouldn't enjoy. So if I could picture what that would be, or someone else is writing me a paycheck, this would be something I could do. And so I really pursued that for a good amount of time, and had a lot of good leads, had some first round interviews, and every single time it never went past a first round interview. And yet at the same time, I was getting very strong, clear, direction, like, your financial future is secure. Like, you don't need to worry. You're never going to again face the, the absolute struggle that I had financially for the last couple of years. That's done. You learned what you needed to from that, and that experience is over. And so at that time, I hadn't been doing a lot with my cards, but I a few times would pick them up and do a reading for myself on what is happening, and trying to get some more insights. And I did a spread about a job and about my financial future. First of all, financial future, and it all, of course, looked, very assuring, which was also what I was getting, from my internal guidance. And then when I, did a spread about this one job that had just fallen through, I got this very, very clear picture. Like, you can't lay cards out sometimes and get a more clear picture. Sometimes you lay cards out and it takes a little while to like really understand, what spirit, your higher self, is trying to tell you through the cards. And in that one, it was absolutely clear. The message was, no way, you're not going to have a regular, normal job. Your income will come from the sources that are like, like the quote unquote making money while you sleep. I mean, your financial, future is going to be a success, and it will have to do, the Empress card came up right in the center. And the thing that I'd really been learning about the Empress was that she truly embodies the divine feminine, first of all, as the high priestess, which has been our experience of what we've really learned to do as the divine feminine on this journey. And then the the Empress embodies both of that. She has the High Priestess connection, and yet this is her manifestation in the physical world. And she creates and brings everything to her through this magnetism, by attracting it to her, and by her, like, she's not getting up off of her throne and doing things. If you want to see, you know, one of the feminine cards in the tarot spread, it would be the Queen of Pentacles, that, you know, she's the businesswoman, she gets things done, she makes things happen. But the Empress, it just comes to her, you know, she attracts it by the very nature of who she is. And that was what was really coming clear to me in the spread, is that this is how, you know, it will come in. And at that time, I had begun a process. It had been going on for maybe about a month at that time. Two things were happening, and this is relevant to all of the material that I'll be sharing with you in the future here. One, I had started doing one time I'd done a card spread, and I had been like, I'm going to look something up about this one card. I mean, I've been reading cards for a very long time, so it's very rare that I think I need to look up a card. And so I looked it up, and I ran into a website that you know, had a different take on reading cards than I'd ever seen before. And I was so intrigued with it that I spent, you know, a couple weeks just really, you know, delving into this material and this information and this approach. And with that approach, what I found happening was, you know, I still read cards the way I always have read them, but then I was like getting like a whole nother, like, more detail, more specific, more accurate reading by adding this other, you know, approach and this other layer. And I was super excited about that. That was really, you know, it was really great. And then at the same time that was happening, my good friend, star sister, Lisa Janelle from Green Woman Wisdom, who you guys, if you've followed me a long time ago, you know, she and I have done some things together. Well, she and I have always maintained contact, although it would sometimes, you know, ebb and flow based on what was going on in our lives. And we had really started at the same time begun to do a kind of channeling together of our higher selves that we'd never done before. Now, there's so many times when she'd call me up and want to do a card reading for her, and then, you know, then we would she would do readings for me in her style, which is completely different. You know, doesn't use cards at all. She sees things and she's told things, but a lot of things that she sees and is told has always been like in like they'll show her things that are symbolic, and then, you know, she gets a sense and a feeling for it. Then she describes, talks, and goes into, you know, into the information. But what we had started doing, you know, she could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she'd done a lot of this before, where she would literally allow them to tell her word for word what they wanted to say in combination with, you know, this other style. And so what we had done was, I wanted some information, you know, from my higher self, and so we'd gone in together, and I started asking questions. So instead of just sitting back and allowing her to tell me whatever she wanted to tell me, I began to ask questions. And in the process of asking those questions is when we started getting this direct communication response. And in that process too, then other times, like, I would start you know, getting a download myself. And for Lisa's style, it was more, she just, you know, hears them say the word and then she says it. For me, it just kind of comes through. And, you know, I can tell it's a download because my, you know, my speaking will slow down, and I'll just be saying things and they're just coming to me and I'm saying them. So we started working together like this, and just for ourselves, you know, not for any clients or anything. And I, you know, called her up. I said, Lisa, you won't believe the spread that I got. It just says, like, you know, you've got something coming, and it will be, you know, it will be a benefit to others, and it will, you being, you know, utilizing it, just coming to you from, you know, within you, that you attract it, and it will be, you know, like making money while you sleep. It will be, you know, it's not a job. It's so clear from this reading, it's not a job. And so we went in and, you know, did another session together where, you know, we call in both of our higher selves. And of course, we have many past lives together. So a lot of this stuff is like, we used to work together before. We've done this before. We were meant to come together and work together. And in the process of this, I had been also telling her about my new additional style of card reading. And I said, you know, this is super interesting, and it's so neat because that's really, you know, I got this extremely clear message from this style of card reading, and then I've been having this idea about how I could take, and I would like to create an app that would give, you know, people the ability to use this, because even myself, I'd already spent a couple of weeks of intense hours every day studying this method, and there's so much to learn in it that even like for me to actually do a reading for one of you guys, I could never do it live. I would literally have to have the questions, and then, you know, it takes me about half an hour to come up with, you know, all the answers, because I'm literally, you know, going into and utilizing all of this information to get these extremely clear, you know, really great readings, but it's very time consuming. And then I had the idea, already been getting the idea for an app of how I could like turn all of that information into quickly, you know, and you could create a reading. And so I was telling her about that, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, oh, that's what this is about. You know, we can do this, and I mean, I can do this. And so, but the main thing, in addition to this style of reading, of creating a reading, was that I wanted to present information from each and every card, where we're really diving deeper into meanings in the card that may not really be so present, apparent, and common. And because she and I had already been working together with our higher selves in this channeling, I realized we need to do this together. We could do, you know, we can go in and we can channel the information, and we can get these, you know, great insights for each card, and then that can be part of what we present in the app. And it was so funny because our higher selves, their characters are really funny. Especially mine, who I call Aria, and Lisa's is Andalusia, and they're just like, you know, cheering and high-fiving, and like, it's about time you guys figured it out, you know, that this is, you know, that you could do this, and that you could share this. And so really, we've been in the process of this project now for the last 2.5 months, and one of the things that happened immediately was her telling a friend of hers about our project, and she just was like, I would like to be a silent partner, and do you need money? And that was just such a mind-blowing thing for me, because here I had been trying for 2 years to develop and launch an app, and my biggest hurdle was always not having the money to do it. And then here's somebody just saying, you know, here, however much you need, I'll pay for the development of the app. We're gonna, you know, be alone, we'll pay her back. But, you know, that was just mind-blowing to me. And then the process of bringing in this information has been so amazing. And at the same time, you know, not only are we working with the information from gathering for the app and for the information with the cards, but we're also going through quite often having sessions basically for ourselves. But in those sessions, the most amazing things are coming forth. I'm asking questions about things I have keen interest in, primarily, you know, why we're here, what's the bigger picture, what's happening, what's coming, the shift, you know, you know that we're all here for a reason. We're here because we are the forerunners. We're energetically in advance of everybody else, where everybody else will eventually be coming as the energies increase more and more toward the shift that will happen within the next, you know, 5 to 7 years, I think sooner than later. But I've also learned it's going to be a process, kind of like a peak, and then you know, I want to tell you guys more about that, because it's, if you're interested in it like I am, I think it'll be really, you know, really helpful information. So this is a lot of the things that we're delving into. We're getting information, and it has been in my mind for the last 2 months or more, actually 3, maybe 4, as this stuff has been coming in. You need to get back on your channel. You need to share this. And there's part of me that just, I'll be really honest, there's part of me, and it maybe is the ego part, that's like, but I just feel like I was such a failure, because where I was at that point when I shared these messages before, you know, I've actually blocked off a lot of those messages, just not because I think they were, you know, wrong or false, but they were at a different place in a different time, and they don't really reflect where I'm at now. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to have me out there saying things that I no longer totally see it that way, and then perhaps, misguide or misdirect people. And then of course there's always that question, what if I'm sitting here telling you things now that I truly honestly believe, and yet that still is a slight distortion from, the ultimate truth. And of course I know that we're not supposed to judge ourselves about that, and we're also trusting each one of you as you watch, and listen to the messages that I'll be bringing, that you're amazingly intelligent and, high beings, that your inner guidance will tell you what to take and what to discard from the things that I say, and what I had to bring. And so, that was part of it. And then the other part is just like pure laziness. I kind of get into, like my little routine, and if getting myself, presentable to make a video isn't part of my daily routine anymore, it just kind of gets swept away to, oh, I'll do it later. And, it's really just that inertia, overcoming the inertia of getting in there and doing it. And so that's what I'm doing today with this video, just letting you know there's a lot of things coming down the pipe. I have massive amounts of material. When we're doing our sessions, I'm typing, we have recordings, and I still haven't decided for sure how I'm going to, present it, but I am pretty likely feeling that most of my postings will just be audio recordings, as I speak from the material that we've already channeled, or also Lisa and I will probably do some joint sessions. I have in my mind about possibly opening it up for questions, if you guys have questions, and then we could, do some sessions like that. I don't know exactly where it will all go, but I do know that all of us are here for a really, really big purpose and reason, and that the more that we, band together to share our knowledge and our information and spread our light. Like, it was so funny because the Hermit card came up for us today, and that's actually finally the thing that got me into, creating this video. Well, why would the Hermit card make me create the video? Well, because they told us, they said, so here's the thing about the Hermit. You don't know, is it underneath his robe? This is what they're showing us. They're showing us funny things like that you don't even see in the cards, but they're telling us they're there. So, and then that, it leads us into, okay, this is what's another key aspect of what this card has to say. And they said underneath his robe, he has everything and everyone. He's got animals, he's got people, he's got food. And so the thing about the Hermit is he may live up at the top of the mountain, and people might kind of think of him as, oh, he's just, getting enlightened and, higher knowledge, and he's just keeping to himself. We do know he has the light that he's shining. And so that aspect is in the card, but the part they wanted us to know is that he's bringing everybody with him. He's part of the community. Even though he's up on the mountain a lot, which is me, I hike up on my mountain every day. I live a very quiet life. I hardly have any friends, that I see or do things with. I'm kind of a hermit, It's also my life path number 9, and so I can relate to it a lot. But they were just saying, he has a message to share. And so then I said, Lisa, this is where we need to talk. We need to ask them some more questions about, about what it is we're doing, not only with the app, but I've felt for a long time that I need to get back on to my creating the videos. And they did say, hey, it's your choice. Ultimately, everything we do is your choice. We should never force ourselves to do things that feels like work, or that's, what we don't want to really do. And I'll just have to say, there's a part of me that knows that I want to do this. And so it's not that, it's more overcoming the inertia and, really being the bringing forth the aspects of the Hermit where he does more than just pull off and go into the mountain to get his higher knowledge and wisdom. He brings it back to the people. He shines his light on the people, and he brings everyone along with them. So, and that's not just me. That's you. That's all of us. We are all here to be a light to the world. We are the way showers. And I have so many more things I want to talk about, but I wanted to keep the video as short as possible. So I'm going to wrap this up for right now. And thank you guys for watching, and it's good to be back.